Welcome to Need to Know Music Show here on SwitchboxTV with me, Ronan McManus, and today I'm joined by the flamboyant frontman of Irish indie rock band Scally, who you're soon going to be seeing a lot more of him on SwitchboxTV. We'll be talking about that a bit later. Please welcome Mullingar legend Ethan Scally. How are you?
Hello, Boda.
There you go. How's that for intro? How's the intro?
That is the fucking best intro I have ever received. Thank you very much. The flamboyant frontman of Mulling, flashy frontman from Mullingar.
Well, that's true, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty flashy.
I mean, I remember the first time I seen you. We were doing a tour over in Ireland with Brandy Zeros, and I actually first bumped into you in the local petrol garage where the hot counter. You may not have that, we don't have it in the UK. Those that have never been to Ireland, it's the best thing ever. In the morning, you go in there and get your bacon sandwiches and all that stuff. And I met you in the petrol garage. You were on the way in to get the bacon sardies on a Sunday morning or something, and you were dressed in stage clothes. And like, what? I thought this guy is living it. He said, "Oh, who's that guy?" He goes, "He's the guy that's supporting your band this coming in a couple of days' time." And then your band came and supported us, and your bass player, I think it was, jumped up at the end of your set and then landed and broke his leg.
Oh,
and the ambulance had to be called. So the best end to a gig ever. So so but you're known for your stage shows and your flamboyant nature.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'm glad you have those. Your memories are a lot sharper than mine. Mine are all a lot fuzzier kind of is. I've no recollection of our petrol station encounter, but
by the looks of you that morning, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
So you supported us in Whelan's.
Yeah, I remember that gig, but I forgot all about our old bass player. Keelan was his name. He fucking broke his leg. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, he went to do some, like, I think we were playing a song called Guilty, and at the time it was our best song. And we just got to the last song of the set, and I seen him and he just like fell down or something, and I was like, "Get the fuck up," you know. And then he was like, "Ah, ah." And I was like, "Get up, will you?" And then I was like, "What the fuck is he doing?" And I didn't realize, because I thought like nothing really happened to me. And then whatever way he kind of jumped, and it was, you know, he did. I think he broke his leg or he dislocated his knee or something. He was in.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in agony for a few weeks afterwards.
Well, I think the ambulance got called and everything, and I mean, it was hard to follow that, I have to say.
Yeah, no, and the one I wouldn't mind running. Like, the ambulance could have been called to a lot of our gigs, but like, you know, but not that one, not that one. Like,
not for that reason.
Yeah, that was pretty innocuous in comparison to a lot of the shenanigans at our gigs.
So I think you were called The Business then, that was the name of the band at the time. But you've had The Resurrection. There's been another band you had, and now Scally. I mean, so what your recollections of those different incarnations of the band? The bands.
Yeah, well, it first started off, we were just lads jamming in the shed, in my shed. You know what I mean? I finished college and I was training to be a teacher, and I got to my final year after 6 years, and I have to start doing my teaching practice in the school. And I started doing that, and I came home one day and I was like, "Oh, fuck this." I was like, "There's no way I want to do this," because you had to be given out to the students and be a real disciplinarian. And, you know, I've discipline when I work, but like, it's not in my nature to be a disciplinarian enforced in like good behavior and stuff, you know? So I got to that point, and then I said, I'm going to start a band, and I got a few lads together, and we were like, "What would we call it?" They were like, "What would we call it?" Oh, and I thought we sounded pretty good, so I was like, "Well, we sound The Business, so we should be called The Business." And then we ran with that. We had with that for a while, and then we got a message. We got a message on Facebook of the Business Blues band, they were called, from Dublin, and this.
Oh, right.
So they said that they had been on the go for like 20 or 30 years, and they said, would we change the name? And I suppose that was about 5 years ago, and I would have been a bit like hot-headed at the time. I said, "Oh, fuck them!" I said to the other boys, "We're not changing our name," and blah blah blah. And then, but then I just thought, for the greater good, you know, the longer we go ahead, if as the kind of more widely you'd be known, and then having to change it, it might just mess things up a little.
Yeah, yeah.
So
is that when you change it to the Beatles?
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, so we had to come up with a different name, and we came up with the Resurrection. You know, I just probably maybe two things influenced that band name. Would have been one, I'm a mad Stone Roses fan.
I was going to say, was that an influence on it? Yeah, I Am the
Yeah.
Resurrection.
And then also we wanted to kind of, I suppose, lead a bit of a resurrection in rock and roll in Ireland, because at the time, and probably still the same at the minute, there was so much commercial music being played on the radio. It was really widespread, and you know, that's it. That has a place. But I think it was just the radio station seemed saturated with it, and we kind of had that ambition, like, you know, to kind of lead a bit of a resurrection as such of rock and roll music in Ireland, you know.
I mean, Ronan are a band that's kind of the lads that we know. That's how I know you, is through Mick and Johnny Cronin, who are real stalwarts of the Irish indie scene, and they seem to know everybody. They're really good. They're good guys, like, you know. And they live in Mullingar as well, so that may be local townies, you know.
They do, yeah. The boys Cronin are great. They know everybody from the folk to rock and roll to punk to pop. They know so many people, and the boys really helped us out at the start, initiating contact with many different festivals or promoters or venues. They're a great help to us at the start. But on the more rock and roll kind of scene, you know, the Stripes, there's been many great rock and roll bands, but it just seems that they're kind of dying out a little bit. Not that, you know, I always kind of nearly oppose someone when they say, oh, rock and roll's dying, you know, because I think it never really will, but the condition it's in at the minute, you know, isn't what I'd really love it to be, you know.
Switchbox.
Good bands around.
There's brilliant music in Ireland at the minute. It's overwhelming nearly how much there is, because there's so much. You're seeing so much come up on social media. There's so much to consume. There's like new music to listen to quite regularly. There's lots of gigs. Well, there was anyway pre-coronavirus. There's lots of gigs, and like I find myself, I'll have a backlog of Irish albums or Irish artists to get listening to, you know. But yeah, there's lots of different genres at the minute. There's folky stuff going on. There's a lot of funky stuff, but there's a lot of kind of synth electro pop funk kind of stuff going on as well. So yeah, there's lots of good stuff happening in Ireland at the minute.
What are the influences, the bands sort of that influenced you when you were what sort of age when you got into music at first, and then what sort of bands were you listening to around that time?
Like I got all my influences really from my dad, I guess. Early on, he would have been listening to a lot of Irish stuff, but also like Christy Moore. But then he would have been listening to a lot of Bob Dylan, Bob Marley, more Irish stuff, like obviously would have been U2, Van Morrison, you know. So there's who else? Like then like a lot of the Manchester scene, Stone Roses, Oasis, the Charlatans, you know, all the late 80s, early 90s stuff as well. I had that as my kind of what I was listening to, and it kind of gave me a foundation for for I think the way I write lyrically. But then our band and the sound of the band is really kind of punky rock and roll, you know, kind of Rage Against the Machine, Arctic Monkeys, the Stooges, you know. And I never really listened to that genre of stuff before we actually had our band, you know, and we started developing our own sound, and people were like, geez, that tune sounds a bit like Iggy Pop, or that tune is a bit like Rage Against the Machine, you know. So
you've got quite a lot of strong messaging, strong messaging in your lyrics.
Yeah, there's a, like, I think when I started doing music, then obviously when I said that I was near the end of college and I couldn't believe what I was doing, and I wanted to do something different. And at that time I was about 23. I turned 29 the other day, so about 23, 24. And what I started writing loads and loads, just lyrics and kind of singing little melodies in my head. But I used to get in a bit of trouble, not big trouble, but just little bits of trouble. And then I always had like this kind of, anything I'd see in the papers, you know, particularly corruption and greed, that used to get to me a lot. And I used to want to just fight everything and, you know, see everything. I want to, like, this is wrong, and you'd want to take it on and try and change it. So there was a lot of kind of anti-establishment messages in the music. Not exactly anger, but like a good bit of aggression in it, you know, and performed with huge amounts of energy. So that's, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, that definitely comes across. I mean, you often got your top half has got, you got Filthy Animal written on your chest, and when we did that song Filthy Animal, and there's the sort of, because you don't play an instrument on stage, you kind of just, you're there sort of doing the business, and it's kind of it's, you know, it's real, you can see that real art school kind of almost like edge to it, you know, that art, not art school, but artistic kind of punch. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I don't know if I'm trying to get across that way, but you really seem to have a real sort of like aggression in there and a real kind of message in there. And I like, and that impact, I think, is definitely something that that I've noticed. Have you felt like have you found audiences have been
good? Yeah, like when we started off, a lot of the songs, like I said, were either anti-establishment, or like some of them then will be quite sexual as well. And it was just kind of the world I was living in, 23-year-old, out drinking pints, having a good time, you know, and then having this kind of things are wrong, wanting to fix things, wanting to help, you know, kind of aggressive streak, not in a violent way, but just like really trying to, I don't know, been angered by things and wanting to change things. And then audiences, so like sometimes we had women, or like there was an elderly woman, real conservative, in the audience, and like I remember one time, I don't know what she was doing at our gig, but she was there, and then was like, stop me in the street about a week later, and was like, I was at your gig a couple of weeks ago and that was disgusting. And I was like, well, why didn't you leave? You know? But 99.9% of audiences, you know, and people that have come to see us have really been great messages back, and have nearly always come to see us again, because I think sometimes, particularly we didn't try to start out writing punky music, but the vibe, and I don't think it is pure punk. There's a bit more of a groove to it, but it's still quite heavy and quite rock and roll. That I think that's not to a lot of people's taste initially, but then when they come to see us live, the whole show, the energy, the madness of it, the speed, and the whole, I guess, the showmanship of it, like, without sounding too nasty.
I think there's definitely some John Lydon in your delivery. I think there's definitely that similar kind of spitting out the words, and kind of, there's definitely a lot of John Lydon in there. I can see that you could. I mean, if you were over here gigging more, you'd probably end up probably on the punk scene more than any other scene around. I think that has that kind of those elements to it.
I have a full album of the rock and roll kind of punky stuff ready to go. We have to record maybe one more track of it. But in the last year or so, there's been so many gateways, I think, and opportunities that we've missed out on, but that we've been good enough to get to. And it's really disheartened me a lot. And I've kind of found that I've naturally then, I don't know if that disappointment is in my head, but that has made me go this way. But in the last year, I've started writing in a completely different way and a different vibe, kind of not as rock and roll or anti-establishment. It's a lot more, and whereas I wanted to fight everyone before, and now I'm all about the peace and love, man. You know what I mean?
Are you getting older, mellowing out there, Ethan? That's what's
happening.
I
am. I'm still able to have a party, you know, and I'll still always, how would you say, always give my opinion with good strength. But yeah, I'm just mellowing out a bit and a lot more chilled out and a lot more love to give and a lot more gratitude, you know, for the life I'm living. And that's the messages I'm trying to give out, as you know, or spread now, positive messages of love and togetherness and strength and unity and positivity, and trying to achieve things through love and togetherness, really, and spirit, kind of writing from a lot more of a spiritual perspective then as well, you know.
Well, there's no better time for it with the political situations around the world, so we could definitely do it a bit more love.
Yeah, I know.
So
now more than ever.
I love that. Just reminded me how you always seem to surprise me about things. I never know what you're going to do next. But I found going through your videos, and I found the night before Christmas was the night before Christmas. Video. Now I urge anybody to watch this because I didn't know what it was going to be, and then it's brilliant. But it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's completely bizarre, and it's endearing, and all those things. It's absolutely brilliant. So we'll put the link to that definitely in the description. People can click that because it's well worth a watch. But you seem to have lots of different strings to your bow and little things that you're doing because. Before we actually move on, I actually wanted to ask you about the new music. Do you have the stuff recorded? What's the plans for? When are we going to hear that?
Bro, I don't know, man. Like I said, I have a full album, punky stuff, ready to go. I've been doing the artwork. You can't see it there at the minute. It's on my It's on my bedroom wall. I've been getting lots of kind of mixed media and old photos, scraping them up and burning them, and I'm gonna paint stuff across it, and that for the artwork for that album, and that's fully ready to go. And I was hoping to release it, say, this year. And I had prices on vinyls all done up, but I have the artwork almost there, and the tracks are done, ready to go. But I kind of wanted to release it and then move into the newer music that I've been writing. But obviously with the coronavirus, so that put a big break on everything, obviously. And you know, I could maybe just when gigs start happening again, I could end up doing it and releasing it then. But by the time gigs come back around, I think it's going to be at least the summertime, at least by the time they're letting big numbers of people into gigs. And I feel like I want to be on the newer vibe when that time comes around, you know. Otherwise, you'd probably put yourself back another year because you'd be on the festival circuit and you'd have to be doing the punkier stuff, you know. Whereas I think my energy is with the newer stuff now, and I'm feeling more connected to the music that I'm writing and that positivity and that love rather than the punkier stuff, you know. So I'm wrecking my head with this decision. One minute I'm thinking, no, I will release it, and then the next I'm not. So today I'm feeling like I will release the punkier stuff maybe at Christmas, because smaller gigs are starting to happen, and if I was able to get it out by Christmas time and maybe do one or two socially distant gigs, then it mightn't be the worst way to kind of finish that chapter as such.
It's not a bad way to sort of go, well, let's see what you feel like. You might feel more angry next year and you want to go back with the punky stuff. You might feel like more mellow out, might feel like it's ready to, we're ready for the next installment of the Scally, the man of love.
The man of love, that's yeah. I should get you to be my manager, Ronan. If you were sending that into promoters, Scally, the man of love, they would eat that.
Man of love, yeah.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Sounds. It might be mistaken for a series of films.
I have some of them on my computer if you want to sell them.
Not starring you, I hope. If you're in them, I'm not interested.
You can just blur my face out. I'm feeling more positive though towards doing the punky stuff and maybe doing a couple of socially distant gigs. But at the same time, our gigs, people love coming to them because they're up the front and they're sweating, and I'm out in the crowd and I'm jumping around the place, or crowd surfing, or squirting whiskey into their mouths through syringes and stuff. Do you know?
You can't do any of that stuff with the restrictions. So yeah,
I know, but I probably would if I was at a gig. I know, and I was up there doing me music. I probably would, and that's like I think I'd get too caught up in it because the music is so, I guess, fiery and punky, and there's not like try and always push, like that's why I'd always say about the music that we were doing and our live gigs is that it's always pushing the boundaries. I've fallen through a roof before a gig trying to jump off one roof onto the stage, and I fell through the roof of the stage. And then one time I drove a Vespa into the venue and I crashed it into the stage. I've had big fire things on stage. I've been nearly naked on stage. I've been just.
So we're not going to. So we're not going to see you perched on a stool like Val Doonigan anytime soon. Basically, that's sensible.
Yeah, not really. But I think if I was to go and do the punky stuff like that, I'd be very tempted to do all that, and I probably would. So. And that would dilute the, if I didn't do that, it would really dilute the authenticity of the gigs, you know what I mean? So, and I couldn't maybe put the energy into it that it needs and requires and deserves.
Switchbox.
Well, I just wanted to talk about the other stuff you've been doing, because you're going to be doing some stuff on Switchbox here. But I'm watching some of your documentaries and bits and pieces that you've done with your friend Connor. Tell us a little bit about the kind of stuff you've done so far.
Yeah, the stuff we've done so far, you touched upon the night before Christmas thing we did, but we've mostly we did some stuff for Brezzy. He was, before there was the Irish, that Irish week, I don't know what the exact title of it is. I think it's the Irish convention that in America that was on last year, where it's basically celebrating Irish culture all throughout the States. And Brezzy was interviewing Chris O'Dowd, the actor, and he's from Leitrim. I can't remember the name of the town we went to, but basically Brezzy said he wanted a video. He was interviewing Chris O'Dowd, and he was going to be doing an introduction, and Chris O'Dowd was going to be waiting in the wings. And he wanted this video to play before Chris came on to kind of embarrass him a little bit or whatever. And Brezzy kind of had a bit of a script for me and Connor to do, and like not written down or anything, but kind of gave us a framework that he wanted us to go by. And we just didn't go by that framework at all, and we just rocked down and we said, well, we're just going to do it off the cuff and do it the way we'd no plan for it. We just said we're just going to rock up and do it, and it turned out really good. And Brezzy said that because we went down to Chris's hometown, and we were standing outside the church, and we were asking everyone, we're like, do you know him, and all this. And few people said no. We weren't having much luck, so I said, come on, we'll go in and see, can we find the priest? And so we went in, and we were going through the church, and there was no one there. And like, we went into the back room where the priest was getting changed, and some other guy came out, and he's like, what are you doing? Get out. And we were like, we're from the telly. It was just, we're looking for the priest. And he was like, no, but we got chatting to the priest, but he was a new priest in the area, so he didn't know him. And then we got outside, and we says, right, we'll find someone. And some fella says his mum lives up the road there. And we said, what house? And he described the house. And we just knocked at the door and told her that we were looking to chat to her about Chris. And we told her what the backstory was. And she brought us in the house, and she was making us a cup of tea, and we were having great crack. And she told us a few embarrassing stories about Chris being drunk on TV on the Graham Norton show. And and Brezzy said we made up the video, edited it, and Brezzy said that his laptop crashed he was meant to do a big presentation with him then on mental health or something, but his laptop crashed, and the only thing that would work was the video. And he said Chris was absolutely mortified before he went on stage, and he was like, whoever that fella is, he said, tell him not to be knocking on my mother's door again. So, and she wanted us to stay for lunch and everything, but we had to go back and film some other stuff. So, but yeah, we were doing stuff like that. And then there was the traffic lights. There was a bit of a chaos in my hometown of Mullingar about the traffic lights. The council basically put in new traffic lights where the whole town was flowing fine, and these new traffic lights brought the whole town to gridlock. And the traffic was just so congested that all the businesses were on social media giving out. People of Mullingar were giving out. You couldn't drive through the town at all, whereas usually it'd take you 5 minutes to drive through the whole town. You were sitting in traffic then for about half an hour. So the outrage on social media was going like crazy. And then I rang Connor and was like, right, we need to do something about this. And he was like, what are we going to do? And I was like, we'll just make a video and like get loads of people watching it and sharing it and put pressure on the council. And so we made a funny but also serious video where we just went around talking to business people, but mostly just people on the street, about what they thought about the traffic light situation. And everyone said it was a disgrace and the council should be sacked and all this, which we did try. And we didn't want it to be just one of those where people were giving them down the banks. So we did get a few more balanced opinions so it wasn't just one of those videos that was all given out. There was a bit more substance to it, and then there was a bit of humor in it as well. But we put that up on the Sunday, and it got a lot of views. Like within a couple of hours, it had like around 20,000 views, and then between Facebook and Instagram, and that was on a Sunday evening around 6 o'clock. And I think it was the Monday afternoon, because it was coming up to Christmas as well, and a lot of businesses were saying that their Christmas trade was disrupted because no one wanted to come into town. And then this was around the 20th of December, 18th, 20th, the council put up that they were going to change the lights to flash in amber. So that,
Victory.
So
Victory.
Yeah. Now there was a couple like that next day. I think there was a bit of a protest on the Market Square where the business, but the video we made gave huge weight to that movement as such, if you want to call it that, So
Switchbox.
So after your success of embarrassing Chris O'Dowd and getting the traffic lights in Mullingar changed, you've been snapped up SwitchboxTV in a transfer window, transfer window surprise signing.
Apparently, the Switchbox had to fight off RTE and Sky Sports News in a billion-dollar transfer for my signature. But yeah, it's true
and Manchester United.
yeah, the whole I throw United in for the laugh. Yeah.
But
yeah.
you've been doing a bit of stuff about the sort of, because the lockdown situation in Ireland's been slightly different to in the UK. Like now, a lot of the music scene is just still on lockdown, still not happening. Still, not, the pubs aren't really open as like they are here.
Yeah.
So you've been doing a bit of filming, haven't you?
Yeah, obviously, myself and Connor, who have done the other videos with Connor English, we have started filming a little documentary for Switchbox at the minute, and it is basically, we've been going around to a few different musicians who are well known in Ireland, and we've been asking them how lockdown has affected them, what they've been doing, how has it affected them in numerous different ways, musically, financially, emotionally. You know, there's so many different facets to how it's affected everyone, really. But we've been really interested in exploring how it's been for these musicians, because in Ireland at the minute, every sector has almost every sector has been back to work. It's really, there's been lots of different grants for businesses coming back, or there's been lots of support for different areas and industries to come back to work. And there's been roadmaps as such given for different industries to get back to work or to get back to where they were. Has given very limited, almost basically nothing in terms of support or a roadmap back for live music and live entertainment. So, and live events all around. Not even just gigs, you know, but events as a whole. So we really wanted to explore what this time has been like for musicians, because it's been a real struggle for a lot, particularly like mentally and emotionally. So yeah, that's what we've been looking at with the Switchbox documentary. We've interviewed Ronan, who you know and who we've briefly spoken about, indie Irish band who know everyone. They've been, last year they did a gig with Shane MacGowan for his birthday where they played with Johnny Depp, Nick Cave, Shane himself. You know, they've played at Shane's wedding, and they've their own music, which is brilliant. That they've toured all around Europe as well. Then we've interviewed Niall Breslin, who is in the Blizzards, and Bresley's also known for lots of different. He's also known as, I suppose, a celebrity as such in Ireland, where he's been a judge on The Voice of Ireland, and he's been involved in lots of different projects, I guess, that would have been highlighted and got a lot of publicity in the media. And he's some really interesting views, and he's probably the most interesting speaker in terms of the music industry and its relationship with the government. And he's said some really, really interesting stuff in that interview. And we also then spoke to Josh McClory. We actually had a brilliant chat with Josh. We just went out to visit him in his house in Cavan, and yeah, with a brilliant. He's a similar age to myself, and we connected and had a really good chat about lots of different things, not even just music, but people's relationship with social media, the overwhelming amount of stuff. You know, like we were saying earlier about, it's such a crazy time to be alive, be it the elections and in England, in America, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement. There constantly seems to be huge, hard-hitting, emotional, impactful stuff on social media, and it's you're either on the left or the right. So myself and Josh talked a lot about that. And we went into talking about what it means to be a young man in the modern world and masculinities. And then we talked a lot about Josh's stuff that he did with the Stripes, that played on Paul Weller's new record that went to #1 in the UK. He's played with Youngblood. He wrote Youngblood's latest single, Strawberry Lipstick. Josh wrote that and gave it to Youngblood. And I think the first week it had 2.something million views on the video alone.
Wow.
So we had a great chat with Josh, and there's lots of really interesting conversation. I actually don't know how we're going to edit it all to condense it all to.
It's going to be 50-part series.
Yeah,
Just to get it all in.
Yeah.
So that's a good problem to have.
It is. I'd rather have too much than too little.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys and making some really cool shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll put a link to all your music in the description below, and a few things that we've talked about, because you'll have to see the Night Before Christmas video, and we can put a link to Josh and all that kind of stuff as well. But we are going to ask for recommendations as well, because we always do this on this part of the Need to Know Music show. We always ask you for recommendation of who you think people should be checking out.
Yeah, for me, I guess the hottest ticket in Ireland at the minute, and the girl that seems to be generating the most headlines and the most hits currently in the Irish music scene, is a girl called Gemma Dunleavy. I was aware of her a few months back, started seeing some of her stuff, but in the last couple of months, her stock has really gotten higher and higher, and all the radio DJs are on her. She's actually the first person, I think, to do the socially distant gigs in the Workman's venue in Dublin, and she sold out 2 nights the other night. She's an inner city Dublin girl, so she's really staying true to her roots and her vibe. It's really inner city Dublin, and it's poetic at the same time, but it's also really modern and urban. So she's really cool, and I think would be someone that would be great to interview. You have a good chat with her. And then if you wanted to interview someone, I have to give someone a shout out from my own hometown. Who would I give a shout out? All right,
Niall Horan. He needs help. He needs a bit of help these days.
Yeah, he could do it. All right, no one really knows that fella. Yeah, get on to Niall, or there's a couple of lads that are interesting dudes that not many people maybe know yet, but that are absolutely brilliant musicians. One of them would be a guy called Paulie Martin. He plays a lot of blues, and he's his own project, Paulie Martin, that he just started. He sold out a couple of gigs around Mullingar last year that were really brilliant gigs. And he also has a band called Blues Confidential. But then there's another guy called Graham Dowling, who used to be in a band called Fallen Lights, which were really good. So they've recently, I think they broke up now, but he's doing a lot of songwriting for publishers and stuff like that. So he's trying to get the big money in. But he can tell you all about it. So yeah, maybe hit up one of those guys, Paulie Martin or Graham Dowling, and definitely try and get on to Gemma Dunleavy, as she's someone who I'd like to maybe do a documentary with as well, because she's really cool.
Excellent. Well, we'll put links to their music so people can go and check out their music, and we'll certainly be hitting them up to see if we can get them on to interview. But listen, thanks for joining us, and it's going to be really, can't wait to see the documentary you've been making, and I look forward to working with you more in the future, and look forward to hearing the new Man of Love album. I mean, I can't wait for this. It's going to be good. We're going to be spreading the love around, and everyone's just going to be. You're going to bring about world peace. I can't wait.
Throw it out like fertilizer and let that love grow, baby.